I am joined on the UK Drum Show official podcast by the legend that is Mark Guiliana. Yeah, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on. I know your schedule is insanely busy at the moment, so I appreciate you making some time for us here at the UK Drum Show to have a chat about your upcoming performance over the weekend of the 18th and 19th of October at the ACC Liverpool for the UK Drum Show. My first question to you, because I know you've done so much, but what for you, Mark, is the most unexpected place that you have found inspiration for drumming?
Hmm. Well, that's an interesting one. The answer is can be both anywhere and nowhere at the same time. I think I try to live in a way that invites inspiration at every moment. So on a good day, hopefully I'm open to receiving it from anywhere, whether it's music or not. And but then sometimes, it's almost like the paradox where if you're reaching for it, it might not really be found. So I think I'm always surprised and always inviting it, but gently, because I think if I give a little too much intention or effort, maybe it seems to escape me.
And
So
do you
pardon
ever?
the abstract answer, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
No, I love it. I love it. That was a deeply philosophical response, and I'm definitely enjoying it. But do you find when sometimes you're sitting behind the kit, if you are putting too much pressure on yourself to be inspired, that's where things could go wrong?
Um, let's see. I think I feel so lucky to get to play with great musicians quite often, and I feel like it takes, again, it's just more about the place from which I'm playing. If I can be open to what's happening around me, there is inspiration to be found at
Mm.
every moment. Um, so I think the only thing that could go wrong is I could just not be listening or be too consumed by my own thoughts. So I think
Okay.
the more I can be open to the moment, um, I'd like to believe that if there isn't inspiration, if I'm not finding inspiration, it is not the fault of my environment. It's the fault of
Mm.
myself. So I just need to be in a place where I can be open to it. And again, I'm so lucky to get to play music with inspiring musicians. So usually it's pretty easy to find it. Very lucky.
And talking of inspiring, feeling inspired, and even inspiring others, um, how excited are you to be playing the UK Drum Show on the main stage in October in Liverpool? And is there a different kind of pressure to a drum exhibition or drum clinic than there is playing with a band?
I'm very excited to be there. I'm grateful to have been invited. There, let's see, pressure. Pressure is an interesting thing. I think the only pressure I feel is to be present in that moment. I feel like it would be a disservice to anyone there if I just didn't give everything I have in that moment. So I can't predict who I will be on that day. But
Okay.
I can, the promise I will try to deliver on is that whoever I am, you'll get all of that, and I'll do my best to share what I can. So I feel like outside of that, there can't be pressure, you
Mm.
know.
Hmm.
Um, so I think as long as I can just bring my full self to that moment, I hope that will connect with people.
And have you considered what that might be what you might be bringing to the table to the UK drum show that perhaps other drummers might not. And to give some examples, on last year's podcast, Nick Collins said, for example, he would make his session interactive with a Q&A. Chris Coleman said it would be a miracle if he turned up. So, you've got two
Mhm.
very opposite ends of the bookend there. But what for you is going to be, what's Mark's superpower that, you're going to be bringing to the table that perhaps other drummers might not?
Mm.
I feel
Well,
like these are really bold questions, and I'm so sorry for I'm just firing them at you and making you
no,
think
no,
really deeply.
I think the previous answer applies.
Hmm.
The more present to that moment I can be, I think the more of myself I can bring. And it's hard for me to even identify what that is, you know.
Mm.
But I think one of the best ways to be in the moment and make it a moment that is unique to that day and that hour and that room and the people that are in that room is to make it as collaborative as possible
Yeah.
and to it would be wrong to say that I don't have any plan or certainly not yet, but as the time approaches, I'll certainly be thinking about what I would like to share. I'm not going to go in and just wing it, but at the same time, I feel like it's a disservice to prepare so precisely that I may be ruling out things that can be unique to that moment. So the only way to
Yes.
do that is to include I don't know the way the drums will sound in that room until that morning, and that will
Yes.
heavily impact the musical choices I make. Or I don't know what we're going to talk about until I get a feeling for the people in the room and get an idea of the energy. So,
Yes.
um, I'm very reliant on the environment to help me, find my path. But that's
Mm.
the most exciting thing for me. I love to improvise,
Mhm.
and I've learned so much about improvising in a musical situation, but I do try to bring that to the rest of my life as well.
Mm. I like that. I like that a lot. One thing that you have done, Mark, with your career that really stands out is obviously working with the late great David Bowie. For you, what was that experience like working with such a musical icon?
Yeah, it was incredible. I can't say enough good things about him and about the experience. I feel so lucky to have had the chance to work with him, learn so much. I think about him all the time. I think about those experiences all the time, and I try to bring, what I learned into everything I make moving forward.
Mm.
And yeah, in some ways, it still doesn't feel real. Obviously, the circumstances surrounding the album and where he was in his life, it's very heavy
Mm.
still, and it's just yeah, I am so thankful to have been a part of a small little blip on his incredible artistic statement throughout his
Mm.
life. So it's yeah, I'll always be in awe of him for sure.
It's amazing that you got the opportunity to do that, but where did your journey with drums begin? Because, we can talk about who you've worked with and these huge names and the huge concerts and venues that you're playing at the moment, but where did your journey with drums begin? And how, Mark, did you get into the pockets of people like David Bowie?
Mm. Um, well, I started playing when I was 15. It was very casual. It was really just another thing to do. My parents always wanted me to be busy, so I thought, oh, what if I take drum lessons? And my journey began when I walked down the steps into the basement of my teacher's house. His name is Joe Bergamini, and I really have him to credit for all of this because I walked into the house. I didn't walk into the house a drummer, but a few
Mm.
months later, I started to leave the house as feeling like a drummer, and um, that, I think this is something that's not talked about too often, but it's such a fragile moment that your first encounter with the first teacher, and some people are self-taught, and that is incredible, or some people have music in their family, so that can be beautiful. I was coming in clean, so it's I still think maybe if it was someone else, if it was a different teacher that I didn't feel a connection to, or that didn't care the way Joe cared, or didn't wasn't able to deliver the information the way he could, maybe I would have said, "Ah, this isn't for me. I'll go look for something
Yes.
else." So
Yes.
I really am eternally grateful to Joe for you know, shaping me and really kind of helping me find my way musically. So yeah, it started
Right.
then, and the I really I really do think a lot of the opportunities come from luck. And some people push back on luck. They say, "No, you deserve this and that." And I don't know how it works, but all I can do is prepare myself that um, hopefully if a situation arrives, I'm prepared to, be at my best. But
Mm.
I think the creation of a lot of these situations have come from, there's definitely luck involved. So can't really speak to that one.
Do you think the drumming community is based around a lot of who you know? You know, for example, whether that's your drum teacher has got loads of connections in the drum world, or your music teacher, or a family member, or a friend. Because, let's face it, Mark, not everybody is able to pick up sticks and then go and drum for, as we've said, David Bowie, or go and drum these massive venues. I mean, yes, you say you've been lucky, but also there must have been so many hours, months, years spent into practicing, into networking, into building social media. All of those things are important, right?
Well, everything's important, but nothing's more important than the playing, you know? I think um, I never, this sounds kind of funny to say, but like, I didn't start playing drums to practice.
Mm.
I started playing drums to play. All I wanted to do was play with other people. And I quickly realized that in order to do that, there was a lot of work that I needed to do. And that's what kept me inspired and got me to actually do the work. But it was only ever about the playing. And the practicing was a reaction to maybe having deficits in a playing situation that I never wanted to experience again. So, oh, I got to work on this.
Yes.
This tempo feels weird. Oh, wow, I got to go home and iron this out. And so I think, um, now with social media, I certainly didn't play drums. Well, it didn't exist, but I certainly didn't play drums to have a social media following. I didn't start to play drums to even, all those things are important. I don't want to devalue them. However, I think more and more it's easy to lose sight of the why in the first place. And I just want to play music with other people and share in that community.
Mm.
And, even networking, it was a reaction to wishing to play music with other people.
Hmm.
I think sometimes networking it could get a little murky, or it could blur the lines into looking for attention or things like more egoic things, which we are all vulnerable to. Of
Mm.
course, that's a part of being a human.
Yes.
Um, but I think for me, I cherish my relationship with music, and I'm holding on so tight to the earliest root cause for that relationship, which is just
Mm.
the feeling that the playing gives me. And I still haven't found it, aside from having a family and things like that. I haven't found anything else in life that compares to just a nice night of playing music with people I trust, you know? So
Yes.
I try to keep that at the core, and I understand the value of these other things, but um, I really try to also make sure that those things aren't getting more attention than they actually deserve.
That's really interesting. All of what you said is so. I feel like I could just sit in a corner of a room and just listen to you talk.
Oh,
I
nobody
really,
wants that.
well, we've only been doing it like 17 minutes or so, so we'll see where we are by the end of it, and I might have changed my opinion. Um, you mentioned also then about the importance of having a good drum teacher that really understands you, and I couldn't agree more. My drum teacher, our lessons were an hour long. They were 45 minutes of telling jokes and 15 minutes of hardcore drumming. But honestly, it sounds like a joke, got me through my grades, got me where I needed to be, and we communicated perfectly. So I totally get the importance of a great teacher who understands the learning style of drummers, because everybody obviously learns differently. We've spoken about your career, how much you've practiced, your where you draw your inspiration from. But I've got to ask you, um, what has been in your career the biggest Spinal Tap moment?
Hmm.
These questions usually draw quite an interesting response. Have you ever?
Okay,
I mean, you've not spontaneously combusted, so that's good.
yeah. Um, it's hard to say. Maybe I've subconsciously deleted them from my mind due to the experience. It's hard to say. It's more, I don't know. I'm so stubbornly optimistic that even in even in these moments that might not go my way or have some friction, I'm still looking at them as learning experiences and what can I take from them and trying to flip them into a positive to then bring with me moving forward. So I'm completely avoiding your question, but it is honest,
Yes.
and it's mostly because nothing comes to mind immediately, but I'm sure there are some.
Yeah, no, I get it, and perhaps your Spinal Tap thing is that there have not yet been any Spinal Tap moments, so that perhaps could be the one for you.
Yeah, none that rise to the moment for now. Yeah.
With regards to you know, drumming and aspiring drummers, and you being part of the movement that is inspiring the next generation of drummers. At the ACC Liverpool in October, when you grace the main stage, you're going to be in a room filled with drummers, drum enthusiasts, percussionists, from all across all walks of life, different ages, different abilities. Um, what would be your biggest piece of advice to somebody who would love to follow in the footsteps that you have, Mark?
Well, I think hmm, one thing I like to do is try to immediately disarm any kind of hierarchy. I'm grateful for anyone that might look to me as an influence, but I think it's important for my goal will be to do my best to let them know that I am them. There is no difference. We
Mm.
are the same. I was you, I am you, you know. Um, I was the kid in the front row at all the Modern Drummer festivals. You can even see me when the camera goes to they were
Oh.
all in New Jersey, close to where I grew up.
Oh.
I'm still that person. I don't think of myself as any different than that kid. Um, and I think it's important to not overestimate maybe the distance between someone you admire and yourself. You don't want to lie to yourself and say that, oh yeah, we're in the same place, but I think we oftentimes have a tendency to exaggerate, the distance between things and or people. And for me, that can sometimes serve as a deficit. Oh, I could never be up there, you know? So I don't want to diminish what, you know, being on that stage might mean. I don't want, but at the same time, I don't want to exaggerate either, you know? And to me, it's important to, I have no interest in, hey, I'm up here. You know, that actually makes me uncomfortable. I'd much
Right.
rather set the drums up on the floor. You keep saying main stage. I'm like, let's get rid of the stage. Let's just set up in a circle and be together. You know,
Yeah.
that's actually the point. So, um, I hope that can be felt. And then the advice is just like, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, put your head down and just make it about the playing. And yeah, just try to. There's plenty of work we need to do, but don't get distracted by what everybody else is doing, and just really try to, you know, chase this thing that, again, why are you playing in the first place?
Mm.
Keep that as the North Star.
You seem like such a humble, well-educated, open, approachable person, and I genuinely can't wait to see how that transcribes into your drumming in
Mm.
October. My last question for you: um, what's your legacy? How would you like to be remembered in, let's say, 100 years?
You know, it's funny. The more and more I feel like I would like the legacy to just be the music that is left, and and that's it. And then the way that's perceived or interpreted is none of my business. I feel like when I was younger, I used to try to get people to listen a certain way, or get them to get to receive a certain message from the music. And I feel like I'm less and less interested in, to me, I would love for people to listen, but whatever they take from it, they're right, you know, because that's their experience. And I do feel like, um, you know, art requires the listener or the viewer, or, you know, it's not to get I know we're living in a little abstracted place, but you know, it's like I feel like the beauty of a painting that's sitting on a wall in a museum, you know, 100 people can walk past it, and if they can walk away with 100 different ideas of what it is, that to me is the most exciting thing. But if the artist is insistent on exactly what it means and what it has to mean, you know, I understand that, but that I think limits the experience, you know. So for me, all I can do is make the stuff that feels right to me, and then it's kind of none of my business, you know, as to as to what people leave with. And more, especially with instrumental music, you know, without lyrics telling, you know, lyrics have a tendency to tell a bit more of a specific story, which is
Mhm.
cool. But especially with instrumental music or more abstracted music, sure, I may have an idea of it's coming from a particular place in me, but I'd hate to share that in advance and limit what someone takes from it.
Mm.
So the legacy is out of my control in a lot of ways. I can only make what I'm gonna make, and then sure, I hope people it it touches them in a way that actually helps them make what they want to make.
Mm. Yeah, I said it halfway through the interview. I'll say it again. I could sit and listen to you talk for hours, but unfortunately, we are limited to the free version of Zoom, which only allows us 40 minutes. Mark, I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on the UK Drum Show official podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Congratulations with all your success, and we will see you on the main stage, the
Yes.
ACC Liverpool, between the weekend of the 18th and 19th of October.
I'm really looking forward, and thank you again for having me. And until then, it's going to be fun for sure.